Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Weighing In. I'm David Mirikitani, along with Mark Ostrander. We are brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. GT is on assignment at the women's volleyball Final Four. I actually forgot that he told me that, Mark, last week, now that he texted us. That guy got more travel miles than I do, and I have done some traveling in the last 9 or 10 days. First of all, good to see you in person, or at least video.
Yeah.
I know you took a cat nap from the train, so I appreciate you coming on this morning, brother. How are you?
Doing well. A lot of good things going on in wrestling right now. It's kind of fun to watch and see what happens.
There was a ton of things. I want to start out with, first of all, I want to give a shout out to my guy, Michael Pixley, who won another jiu-jitsu world title. Kyusa Kim, who I coached, took third, and Mario Millsap took fifth. I was there last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, flew straight from there to Des Moines. God bless my parents. It's only a 4-hour drive from St. Louis to Iowa City, and they drove an hour and 45 minutes each way to pick me up in Des Moines and brought me over. Thank you, Gary Abbott, for giving me the opportunity to do interviews this weekend. It's a blast, man. Like, just an absolute blast to be on the floor, to be pretty close to those matches. Extreme Arena, City of Coralville, Josh Schomburger, Luke Eustace, the UWW people, the officials, Rich Bender, Pete Isaias. Some of those names are obviously familiar. Cody Bickley. Unbelievable job, super cool environment. I think there's a couple things they can do to tighten it up. Just, probably schedule the duels to be 145, not 130, because between challenges and long walkout introductions and everything else, that's probably a more realistic expectation. But if that's the worst thing you do is you're sort of 15 minutes off a duel, then you've done a great job. The smoke and mirrors, the interview area, all of it, super, super cool. Got a chance to talk to a number of guys and women that have been on the podcast. So kind of cool in the back, like Alec Pantaleo walked back, gave me a hug. Nate Jackson gave me a hug. So Sergey down there, watching Sergey talk to Alec after he won the last match where he got gut wrenched and they threw the challenge and won it. And you've coached, Mark, a long time. You coach guys like, hey, you kind of got away with one there. And he's back there talking to him right away about it. I don't know if I recorded it because it was happening so fast, but man, it was cool. I'll start and then so for people that don't know, Pantaleo last match, he's winning. He gets taken down. He gets taken down, the guy's gut wrenching him. He puts his head down and then he goes out of bounds. And there's two rules though. One rule is once your head's out of bounds, no more scoring, but the other rule is continuation. Right. And the other rule can be you started a movement. I put my head down on purpose, and it can be 1, caution 1, which would have been the same as 2,
Yep.
Which would have cost him the match. So it could have gone 3 ways, and 2 of them were bad. And it went the third way. Now, it wouldn't have changed the duel. I looked that up. The duel would have been 5-5 instead of 6-4, and America had more won the duel like on points, I guess, dual meet points. But it's a big difference to Alec Pantaleo, obviously, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So Sergey is explaining the other 2 things to him, and Pantaleo then goes on the air and talks about what a wizard Sergey is and, how he would go anywhere to follow him, and he's only going to coach a couple more years, and, whatever Sergey says, I do. Talk about the relationships with coaches and athletes,
Yeah. It's amazing what they've been able to do there at Michigan. I guess the thing that stood out to me, David, is the guys you did not expect to step up and perform for the United States against the top elite guys in the world. They stepped up and did beyond what I thought they could do. So, we're going to talk about it, but I was really impressed, not with our main. We had 4 guys in there that have been, kind of a staple the last, number of years. But we had a lot of guys that this is their first World Cup, and they performed out of this world. It was really fun to watch.
Who I know who kind of stuck out to me. Tell me tell me what you think.
Well, Zane Richards.
Yes.
I mean, he's probably 5, 6 on the ladder, somewhere in there, I'm guessing, because you have.
Well, he took 3rd at the World Team Trials, so
okay.
he's actually on the World Team. But you're correctly counting like a Dayton Fix, and a Seth Gross who plays the head of them, who are no longer at that weight. I think that's just so people know. Mark knows what he's talking about. Though just some of those guys aren't counted at 57 right now. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I just thought his performances, wrestling a guy that got, I think it was bronze at the Worlds and beating him, and the fashion that he beat him, it wasn't close. It was a dominating performance, and you saw a few of those during the weekend. Not actually just, and I'm not just talking about USA men's in Iran. I'm talking about the women. We had a couple really dominating performances. Obviously, the women did not get the results that they wanted, which, we didn't have our top level people there. But then I'm thinking
we had some, to be fair.
We had some, but I was I seemed like I was a little disappointed. But then I look, and Japan got 7th, 8th at the World Cup, and they're the most.
There's only 6 teams, so they got 5th or 6th.
Yeah, so they got 6. I mean, that's just unfathomable.
Yeah,
that they ended up there. So I'm thinking, well, we did outperform Japan, which is the country everybody's chasing in women's wrestling. So and I don't want to get too much into it right now, but I was just really impressed with the guys that their first trip to the World Cup, they performed the way they did. Nate Jackson was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So, and
Zahid too, right?
Zahid, yeah. I mean, Zahid's had a little bit more success, I think, internationally. He's beaten some really good kids. Zahid's going to be a real problem in the future for some of these other countries. He's going to be a problem for David Taylor, but I'm not sure how much longer David's going to wrestle. And then
I think he's going to wrestle through 24. Okay. So to kind of touch on a couple of things you said, like to go back to the women's team, like if people have not been to Coralville, it's a very interesting little setup. Like you come in at the top of the street and you hang a left or right, depending on which way. And the arena is like there's a Staybridge Suites, then there's the arena, then there's like 25 restaurants, bars, and hotels. They're all within like a quarter mile of each other, which is great in Iowa. It was also unseasonably warm there, which was amazing. But you don't leave. Like you don't have to leave to go get something to eat. There's a place there called the Iowa Athletic Club that's not, in fact, an athletic club, but a restaurant or a bar, whatever you want to call it. Literally a hook turn when you come out of the arena. And so I'm over there, and there's people like, well, we didn't see, this isn't cool. Like we didn't see the number ones. And I pointed out, and I think correctly, like, these are the superstars of tomorrow, and they have to wrestle at some point. Like if you want them to be great, they can't go from never getting a shot on the stage on the big show and then just going, okay, now go be great. Like they have to wrestle in these scenarios. So I thought that was, really interesting. Zane was an amazing interview. Yanni Diakomahalis, I thought, is an interesting scenario. I interviewed him after the match he won, and I asked him, what is your training schedule for folk style versus freestyle? I think that's a good question, right?
Sure.
He goes, we don't really have one. I was really surprised by that because Mike Gray and Yanni Diakomahalis are two of the smarter people I've ever talked to in wrestling. I mean, it doesn't mean they don't. He might have answered the question wrong. He might just have been a little tired and didn't answer it right. But, I would have thought there are certain days of the week you're working on leg lace and staying grounded and stuff like that versus getting out on bottom, passovers, just the differences. But they also might look at it as wrestling is just wrestling, and we're not going to distinguish between the two. I think you can probably do that at a youth level. I think when you're trying to win matches at the World Cup, it's probably a little more specialization comes into place. The other thing, and I would highly encourage people to go on the USA Wrestling YouTube channel and watch these interviews. The amount of pride that these women and men had in wearing the Team USA singlet, because some of these people wore that Team USA singlet for the first time. And they talked about the dual meet part of it, and they talked about their bench literally cheering for them, because this never happens at these individual tournaments. Even like the world championships, there's no bet. Like, everybody's doing their own thing. There's, usually it's like 3 weight classes a day or 4 weight classes a day. Half the team's not even there. Yeah. So that part's very cool. The closing ceremonies were really cool. And then Rich Bender might be the master of the moment more than anybody I know, especially in the sport of wrestling. Took the U.S. team and the Iranian team, blended them together and took pictures. Like, it was cool. It was, I don't want to say breathtaking, but it was, kind of take a pause and sometimes you do stuff and it doesn't matter. And sometimes you do stuff and it matters. So who knows if it really, really matters, but it was certainly the right thing to do in the moment. It was awesome to be a part of that. And Gary Abbott's the best to work with. He got me one day. I showed up like 5 minutes ahead of time, which, me, that's not me. But I had left my lanyard in the hotel, and so I got called out on a rookie mistake. So that was kind of fun too.
Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah. So I now think the trick is to loop your lanyard through your backpack on the outside so you see it, so you know it's there, and then just get in the building and then unloop it. But there's, probably the Kyle Klingmans and the Gary Abbotts of the world could tell me more. So, but I was just, honestly, I woke up in Coralville and thought I was still in Anaheim, and the bathroom and the bed or TV were on the opposite sides of the room. Hadn't had a drop of alcohol. So I was like, just where am I kind of thing. So, and I want to, thank my parents for bringing me. They had an amazing time. They got to watch all the wrestling and visit with a bunch of people. GT was killing it up there at the Nike booth. He took a ton of pictures with the different athletes. The world uniforms looked amazing. So shout out to GT for that. And thank you, UWW, for and Gary for getting me my credential. So
now I think I heard they're going to have it there next year also. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
It's really neat. So people, this is something you want to go to. It's like once in a lifetime. I remember I went to it in Iowa City back in 2018 when I was in Carver Arena. And
I did the interviews there too. Yeah, it was amazing.
It was unbelievable. You're right. It's so much different than watching the individual worlds. That team concept, when those guys are down there by the mat, cheering on their teammates, going nuts. There's nothing like it. So, well, I did want to ask you one thing, David. Do you think them changing this event to December was a good idea? They always used to have it at the end of March, or in March. I know the NCAAs are in March, but these guys have been on training cycles throughout their lives since they've got out of college. And, because we have some guys that with a lot of experience, JB's one of them. Now, David Taylor, Schneider. Do you think it made a difference having it so quick after the
talked to a couple coaches, so I want to write this down because I want to come back to these 3 people real quick. But to answer your question, I think training cycles had a lot to do with why you saw certain people versus didn't see certain people. And there's some people that wrestled. I know specifically at least 2 people that wrestled against their coach's wishes. Like, hey, this is important to me. I want to do it. And so the coaches worked around it, but these coaches are very much doing periodization and training cycles. And, the other side of it is, and I'm not saying either side's right, is like, that's a bunch of hogwash. You just go wrestle and you get better. You watch, film, you get to be a part of something. Like we did a training cycle for the guys for jiu-jitsu, and, we took 3rd and 5th. And so maybe we should have done something right, but we also took 3rd and 5th. There's a lot of people be happy with that. Right. So, I don't want to bury the lead. Jordan Burroughs lost a match, and that's hugely significant. also thought he handled it with about as much class as you can. So I was assigned with interviewing the American winners. That's all I had to do. So when Jordan lost, Gary goes, "Go follow Jordan." I go, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah." Sometimes he'll talk after a loss, and when he does, he's usually amazing. So I kind of went down. He walked out, and he knows me. A little bit. We have some mutual friends. He goes, "What's up, Dave?" And just kept walking. But in that moment, to like even say that, right? Like
Sure.
no one would. So I thought that. I visited with Jaden Cox. His number one goal right now is just to get bigger. He's like up to 230. He's not going to go 92 anymore. So like some people are like, well, you're going to go 92 and 23 and then try to make, be in the semi of the trials in 24. He's building his body up. He's going 97. So, he'll be in the bracket. And if what we've heard is correct, there's only going to be the US Open and Final X this year. No intermediate steps. I don't know if there'll be a last chance, but I'm hearing from several super reliable sources that there's no world team trials. So he'll have to go through the bracket. Now there'll be that gap, like 6-8 weeks, whatever it is,
Sure.
to Russell Snyder. And I cannot imagine he's beaten everybody up there 97. And then the last thing was I'm good friends with Brian Medlin, and the Illinois RTC took a significant jump this weekend with Zane. As good as he was on the mat, he was great in the back room with the cameras, talking about patriotism and training partners and how much he believed in being there. And he just, I was texting with Medlin afterwards, and he was sort of beside himself. Medlin can go from full beard or from clean shaven to full beard in like 2 days too. So you have to double check and see him every time it's somebody different. So, but shout out to him and Jaden for the time, and Burroughs will be back. I think Burroughs is going to do the opposite. I think he's going to wrestle in the 23 world and then just start shrinking his body down.
Yep. That's what I'm hearing also.
So anyway, all right. So I spoke to Gary. I made sure we led with World Cup as we should have, but Bedlam was Bedlam. Did you watch any of it?
I did not. I did not get to see it. I saw the results.
Bro. Okay, so it was on like it was on like ESPN 3 or something. Might have been on big ESPN 2 because it was on a TV.
Mm-hmm.
So they started heavyweight. Heinzelman wins for OU 3-0. He beats Doucette. Prada beats Mastro. Toss-up match 6-0. Fix gets a major 6-4. Schwartz beats Carter Young 9-4. Mitch Moore beats Victor V 12-4. G gets a 7-0 decision, which is almost bad, right? You're like, you got to get to 8. 12-7. Nine house beats Sheets. Yep. And all these are like 1 point overtime kind of matches. They're winning all the coin flips. 15-7. Plot gets a tech, so it's 15-12. There's 2 matches left. Okay. OU's got to win 1. If they win 1, even if they get pinned in the other, it's 18-18, and they win the duel 6-4.
Sure.
Whitlake beats Penner in overtime, and Serber pins Keegan Moore in like a minute in this crazy scramble. And I literally talked to Serber's dad yesterday. Pandemonium on the Oklahoma State bench, and you could have heard a pin drop inside of McCausland. And I think it shows sign of improvement by OU. They're winning close matches now. And State's still got some things to figure out, because if you go off of that, and we'll go into the rankings in a minute, they only have 2 guys ranked to be All-Americans, 33 and 74.
Yep.
And if you look at that duel, you go, okay, like Whitlake beat Penner in overtime. That's not like a convincing win. We don't even know who's wrestling 57 for them. So like that doesn't help us. And Serber beat Keegan Moore. Keegan Moore's like not a 97 pounder. He was an 84 pounder last year. And Serber came down from heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, but if you're just a fan of wrestling and like love close duels, unbelievable duel. And then the other duel that was really good was Mizzou, Virginia Tech, or I guess I should say Virginia Tech, Mizzou.
Yep.
Virginia Tech wins. There were two backups going at, well, I don't know if Ventresca is the backup at 25. He might be the starter. I don't know, Tim or Cooper Flynn. But double backups at 57, where Virginia Tech won, but I think they would win anyway. Like on paper, Andonian's favored over JQ's for sure.
Yes.
So they didn't get, Mizzou did not get bonus from Rocky, and they not get bonus from O'Toole. And Virginia Tech got bonus from Bolin, and they got bonus from, I think they got bonus at 25 with Ventresca. Yep. And that was the difference in the duel. So another 5-5.
Flynn wrestled.
Flynn wrestled?
At 25.
He did.
Yes.
Okay, and he got bonus
that's
over.
That's what the result said.
Okay, and he got bonus over Peyton Moore. So
yeah,
who was certain was out, who's top 16 guy. So that you could argue that would flip the duel. Okay,
yep.
So Mizzou's lost two really close duels to two really good teams, and I mean, man, there was some good wrestling going on Sunday. Like
now, David, how would you compare Missouri right now, losing close duels, not wrestling their complete lineup, and then on the other side you got Oklahoma State, who won the duel, close duel. What team do you feel better about right this minute?
In a duel or in a tournament?
Either. In a duel. Let's say duel.
Well, you and I do this all the time, right? Like we go through and pick, right? Like
that's why I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, I think if we do that real quick, like 25 is a toss-up. Oklahoma State wins 33, 41. I think Hart would be favored, right?
Yep, I think so.
49, Mahler would be favored.
Yes.
57, G would be favored.
Yeah, I would agree.
Thank you. So it's 2-2 with the toss-up. 65, O'Toole's favored, so it's 3-2 Missouri. 74, Plot's favored, so it's 3-3 tied. 84, Whitlake would be favored. I think Whitlake could be favored.
Okay.
But okay, that's fine. And then the two Elams are favored, so I think I picked Missouri.
Okay.
I mean, it's that confidence pool stuff. Like, what's the thing you're most confident about, right? Like, I think O'Toole wins. I think probably the most confident in some order are Fix, O'Toole, and Rocky, right? I mean, that's how I would do it in some order. Those would be my 10-9-8ers. So
it's kind of funny though, David, after a weekend of wrestling, and I know you're kind of close to both programs, okay? You've spent a lot of time with the coaching staff of both programs, interviewing them, and that's really cool that you have that inside look at them. But, people are, on the outside, people would think, well, Missouri, man, they keep losing really close duels. I think Oklahoma State might be better. And I'm thinking, I think Missouri's just on that cusp of being in the top four. They're that close. And I don't think Oklahoma State is, even though they're winning close duels, like they did against Oklahoma, they're not looking good doing it. Certain guys are not looking like they've advanced the way you want them to advance. So it's kind of, it's kind of mind-boggling right now when you watch these scores. You would think almost the opposite. Oklahoma State's coming through and they're winning the matches they need to win the duels. They must be getting better. And I think they are in certain ways, but they're losing matches that I kind of anticipate them winning. 41, obviously. I thought they could win that weight, and because he just beat somebody really good from Minnesota who was ranked number 3 or 4 at the time, and then turns around and loses. And I think Schwartz is really good. Don't get me wrong. But you would think he'd win that duel. And so kind of wondering what's going on.
Well, you covered a couple things. And one of the notes, so people don't know, we have a Google Doc. And most of the topics I put on there, and then we just kick them around. Sometimes you'll tell me something and I'll plug it in. But I will read to you what I had put in here. Dual meet scoring versus small tournament scoring versus large tournament scoring versus NCAAs. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, right? Like like Dayton Fix can outscore probably 40 of the teams in nationals by himself.
Yeah.
Okay. He can only score 6 points in a duel, and he's amazing, but he's not like a pinner. He gets a lot of majors and techs. Okay.
Yep.
So how we score our sport, and I think it kind of impacts our popularity, because people are like, okay, now, high school, like I did a high school duel. There's different sets of rules than college. And then Greco and freestyle, and the team scoring is different. Like Alec Pantaleo did not know how a dual meet score was working in freestyle. To go back to what you're saying, Oklahoma State's, like right now, if we set the over-under for All-Americans, it'd be 2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 2 locks. And I think Missouri, I think their numbers probably 3.5. I mean, I'm very confident that they place at 49, 65, and 97.
Okay.
I mean, those guys have all done it before, including a champion. Now, let me go back to the Oklahoma State duel. If Buchanan's eligible, Oklahoma wins that duel.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's a 9-point swing for them next time. But Oklahoma State's going to go, we lost a coin flip at 25. We lost a coin flip at 41. We lost a coin flip at 49. We lost a coin flip at 65. And we lost a coin flip at heavyweight. And there's no way we're going to go 0 for 5 on those flips again. Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma's going to go, well, we lost a coin flip at 84. We're going to win that one. The biggest, most likely swing is the 9-point swing of Buchanan at least getting a decision where Serber got a pit. But Oklahoma State won by 6. So that only makes it a 3-point favor. And if you flip one of those matches that Oklahoma won, it's back to OSU again.
Yep.
I think if you're an state of Oklahoma person, you just wish this duel was between like the number 2 and 4 team, not the where they are ranked right now.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I think, Missouri's been really, really good at getting a bunch of guys into almost their whole team into the round of 16, a bunch of their guys in the round of 12, and that's where they've had trouble punching through. Yep. But they always have an unbelievably good dual meet team. I cannot wait to watch them duel Iowa State and duel Oklahoma State. Because, you mentioned this, like Iowa State lost to Iowa, and I thought they looked great.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they wrestled him in Carver and wrestled great.
Even in most of their losses, it was very, very competitive. It was really fun wrestling to watch. Kind of like the Oklahoma State duel you're saying, even though, there were minor upsets but the wrestling from start to end was really competitive. It was really fun to watch.
It was, but and no disrespect, McCausland is not Carver. Right? Like nothing is Carver except maybe Rec Hall, right? Like Oklahoma State's not walking in and John's not going to him, hey, there's going to be 10,000 people on top of you. Like Dresser's like, yo, 15 people are going to be yelling bad things at you. Be ready.
Yep.
Water bottles might get thrown. Be ready. It's just a reality. So, and 90% of those fans act perfectly, appropriately. But there's a factor there that get a little out of hand. So
yeah,
maybe the fact that it was a Sunday afternoon and not a Saturday night and the amount of alcohol consumed might have brought that down a little bit. Okay. So we talked about World Cup, Bedlam, Missouri versus Virginia Tech. Talked about the difference of scoring. Quick shout out to my guy, Quentin Haynes. He's from Waterloo. He wrestled for us in JUCO, then wrestled for Nyack and then Grandview. He's going into his High School Hall of Fame. I love Q. GT coach Q as well. So just wanted to get that out real quick. Let's get into the rankings. So let me do this. We're going to do share screen. All right. So we're going to talk about, go to 125.
We were. There it is.
We're good. I talked to them. Their certificate expired. They're good.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So probably the big change here, like this is what's great about this site, guys. Like it's free to get on here. You can very quickly see where the changes were. So you see the Prada Mastro, right? So they did what you would expect. Like Mastro is a 9, Prado is a 16. They did exactly probably what you and I would have done, Mark. Met him in the middle and put the guy that won one slot above him.
Yep.
So that really only cost Oklahoma State a half a point in the rankings, and it moves Oklahoma up a half a point, but not any major changes up here. Kaler moves up a little bit, but that's really just more of a result of, and the other one is the Army kid dropped. And so, I mean, everybody sort of slides up, but it wasn't a whole lot of their performance.
Now, one thing about this weight I think people need to understand is that, you know, there was a lot of talk going on that Patrick Glory was going up to 33, was struggling, couldn't make weight. They were just going to wrestle him at 33, but he did wrestle again this past weekend at 25. So I don't think the rumors are very accurate. So just a shout out there.
Let's see how he gets through Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, 33. Really not a lot to talk about. And this is one of the things we've gotten better on this podcast, like not walking through stuff that's already been talked about. So we'll keep it moving. 41. Berglund, who you talked about, is kind of on the slide down. He's had a couple losses. Casey Swiderski's sitting there at 9. That was I think your preseason pick to be the non-top 8 All-American, and that pick is looking really, really good. Alan Hart beat Crook in that duel, and I think I picked Crook. He was like my last pick in the confidence pool. So, but he's sitting there at 14. Feels like a lot of these guys. I mean, this is a weight where God only knows who's going to win this thing. You know, you could have 12 different combinations in the finals. 49. Rooks moves up. Anthony White moves up. Hagen drops. Tyler Badgett comes in. And again, so like they got Brock Muller at 9. I just feel like maybe I'm crazy, but I think he's going to place. He's placed before. I mean, but so is everybody else basically in here except Pinheiro and Murin. So, yep. All right. So, Mark, this is probably important because I banged the drum on this. All right. Cornell is going to wrestle Iowa State at the collegiate duels.
Yes.
Your thought when we talked about this off air is that they will probably not wrestle Yanni because he just came back from World Cup.
Yes.
Okay. Let me say this for the record. I think Yanni's going to win his 4th national title. Let me also say this for the record. Pinheiro Johnson should be ranked number 1 right now.
Yes, we all know. Yes, we had the big argument last week. Wasn't even an argument. Very strong opinions, yes.
Yeah. Well, no one's against. I don't think anyone's on the other side of it, are they? On our podcast? Okay. No. If Yanni beats Pinheiro, okay, now you've got the Yanni, Pinheiro, Gomez, you know, A beat B, B beat C, C beat A.
Yep.
I have no problem now if you want to say Yanni's number 1, even though he's 1-1 at that point, okay? And then Pinheiro becomes 2, because once you figure out who's 1, then you go head-to-head.
Yep.
So, and I don't know. I mean, if Yanni doesn't wrestle, totally fine with that. But then I think Pinheiro should be 1.
I think Pinheiro should be 1 anyway.
But I'm saying if he shows up to wrestle the number 1 guy, and the number 1 guy doesn't wrestle, and he's the only guy in here that is undefeated, and he has good wins, I won't bang the drum anymore, but I'm hoping they wrestle. Okay. Just say that. All right. 57, Brayton Lee, he lost. So we won't get into it, but like Minnesota beat Oklahoma State in a duel. And right now, Oklahoma State looks like they're just as good as Minnesota in a tournament.
Yeah.
So Michael North moves up for Maryland. Maryland's doing good things. A couple things in that lower tier there. So, you know, nothing too crazy. 65. Facundo moves up. I think we all expected that to happen. So, Ninehouse moves up above Sheets. Nothing real crazy here. I mean, it was a low volume. The next few weeks will be low volume. Foca, I don't know how Foca was not in the rankings. I don't know who's doing what, but I don't know if he's been eligible the whole time, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
But he's where he should be. Rocky Jordan is up a couple slots. Roberts is down a couple slots. I think the big match at this weight is Rocky Jordan beat Nelson Brands, right, Mark?
Yes. 3-1.
Yeah, one takedown, and that's why that happened. Bunch of movement at the bottom here. Hopefully these guys will keep doing things and warrant us talking about them more. 84, super status quo. 97, super status quo. Heavyweight, super status quo. We get to team scores. So, again, look at Missouri, right? They lose a duel, but they're 20 points ahead of Virginia Tech.
Yep.
Look at Oklahoma State. They got 36 points. Oklahoma has 7 and change. So I think that's what's really difficult for people to understand, right? On the outside looking in, if you're not deep in wrestling, right? And right now it feels like there's tiers, right? I'll tell you what I think my tiers are, and you tell me. Penn State's tier 1, Iowa's tier 2, and right now, based on the points, Mizzou, Iowa State, Cornell are tier 3. That's why Cornell, Iowa State's such a fascinating duel. And then Arizona State down to probably Oklahoma, probably Pitt, I guess, just if it's kind of a 11-point give or take. Although Pitt doesn't have a ton of guys. Maybe Arizona State down to Oklahoma State, which is a gigantic tier, 6-14. It's sort of the 4th tier. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, but I would put Pitt in there.
Okay. Sure. Okay. That's fine.
I think, you're what, half a point or 1.5 points behind. I'd say, you're in.
No, they're less. They're 0.83. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
maybe even NC State. NC State's in there too. And then because it's a 6-point drop down to UNI.
But I know early in the year, before we got all this wrestling started and started seeing results, we kind of came off our, talked off the top of our heads who we thought were going to be the top 4 in the country. And, we all talked about Missouri. We all talked about Iowa. We all talked about Penn State. And then it was Arizona State, Cornell, Iowa State. We knew Iowa State could make some noise because they had some really, really good kids. I don't think anybody expected Johnson to take off like he has. But, be honest with you, David, Iowa State could put 3 kids in the finals right now. And,
49, 65, 97.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's legit putting 3 guys in the finals, the way they're wrestling at this moment. I mean,
sure.
beating Gomez for Johnson, we both think right now he should be the number 1 ranked kid. Bastida at 97 is ranked number 2. And I picked him to be in the finals of the national tournament, early in the year. He's just so good on his feet. These guys have never wrestled anybody like that. And if he continues to improve underneath and be able to get out, if he does get taken down, that's going to be the big question for me, whether he can do that. And then, Carr, he's ranked number 3. There's days that he looks like he could go with anybody. And then you kind of wonder, can he wrestle with the top 2 kids?
I don't know if they see Stanford, but he'll see Mizzou, obviously.
Yeah. So
he's got a chance to move up.
Yep. It's fun to watch. Nebraska came out of nowhere. You tell me their 41 pounder is going to be a high All-American. I would have said there's no way at the beginning of the year. And he's looked really, really good. So, I mean, it's just what wrestling is.
Well, you were super high on Ohio State, and they, and then look at Minnesota. They're at 18. When Gable comes back, they jump to 7th.
Yeah.
They literally jumped to 7th. Just add 20 on there, folks. So 25 becomes 45.
And Brayton Lee, who I thought had a good chance of being in the finals of the national tournament, I think is ranked right around 20th right now. So
no, he's not that low. Hold on. He's 11th.
Okay.
So even if he just moves back into the rankings, okay?
Yeah.
Like if he were, say, 5th, then they're basically tied with Cornell.
Yeah.
And they were one of the, I picked them to take 2nd.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. But, and then like, listen, nobody wants to hear this, but if Spencer Lee didn't wrestle, Iowa's at 51.
Yeah. They're fighting just to get on the trophy stand. Get on the stand, get a trophy. Yeah. I agree.
So, all right. You want to pick Cornell, Iowa State?
Sure.
So, guys, there's this. You go on the dual tab here, and this thing's freaking awesome. So, you just hit compare. So, what's great about this is you don't have to go through the rankings and find everybody. It's side by side. So, and I think that they're going to have another free contest, Mark, on fantasygrade.com for this duel. So, I think this is worth looking. All right, so let's do this 125, 130.
I did get in the Missouri Virginia Tech contest.
Yeah, I got 9 out of 10 right. I dusted you, dog. Dusted you.
Well, congratulations.
I actually took 7th somehow because 4 guys got them all right, and then I didn't have the correct number of decisions right. But it was fun. It's fun to play. Like you should definitely play. I mean,
I had certain in the lineup, and certain didn't even wrestle. So that's the part that's kind of hard for me. Yep. And we both had, there's 57 pounders. Neither of them wrestled. How's everybody getting them right if they're not?
Because if you just picked the team.
Oh well, that's ridiculous.
Mark, they can't. That's what they got to do. Look, you're playing. You're playing for prizes, and you're not paying anything. So
I don't have a problem with it. It's just, me personally, I can't pick guys that aren't wrestling. I'm not sure. I don't know the backups that well to pick the winners.
All right, here we go. You want the evens or the odds going first?
I'll take the odds.
Unger, Tarakina.
I'm gonna take Unger by decision, upset. I don't even know if Tarakina's gonna wrestle. I don't know if he's ready yet.
Actually, I think you're right. So I'm gonna go same thing. All right, 33. Vito Major.
Vito decision.
Okay. 41. The freshman sensations. Who you got?
I gotta go with Casey.
Decision?
Decision, yep.
Same here. 49. Okay, I'm taking Yanni.
I'm gonna take.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take Iowa State because I don't think.
No, you picked Yanni. I don't think Yanni's gonna wrestle. I'm gonna do it the way you set up this thing. I'm gonna go with Panero Johnson.
I got Iowa State written down, dog.
Oh, you know what? I don't want to talk to you right now.
All right, 57. Yapulian against Broderson, probably right. That's Iowa State's 57. Oh no. Who's 57 for Iowa State? Broderson 74.
Well, they missed 57 here.
No, because he's not ranked.
Oh, neither guy's in there.
No, who's their 57 pounder?
For who? Iowa State?
Yeah, the kid that wrestles Seabricht.
All
right,
Kaiser, Kinzer.
Yeah, Kraser. Jared Kraser. All right, who you want? Yapulian or Kraser?
Yapulian.
Decision?
Yep.
I'll take the same. 65, really good match. I'll take Carr, controlled win.
Yep, Carr decision.
74, Mark. Great match here. Or no, I'm sorry, 84 is a great match. Foka, Broderson. Who you got?
I'm going to take Foka.
I will
by decision.
Same. 84.
I'm going to take Coleman by a decision.
Okay, it's my pick, but that's fine. I will as well. Go ahead. All right. 97 is you.
Bastida by a decision.
Same. And then Fernandez, Skylar. So I think Fernandez is going to win.
Okay, I'll take Skylar.
All right, so let's see what you got here. You got Cornell with 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, and you have no bonus at all.
Sounds about right.
Okay, you have an 18-12 Iowa State. Let me just double check. You have Cornell winning 25, 33, 57, and 74.
Yes.
Okay, and I've got Cornell winning 25, 33, 57, 74 in heavyweight with one bonus, so I have them at 16, and I have Iowa State at 15.
Okay.
And if Yanni was wrestling, you would have this duel 15-15, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So real quick shout out. I want to thank St. Pius High School, Coach Crawford, Omar Padilla, those guys. I did a tri-meet on Tuesday night, part of my travels, and it was a lot, but really fun to watch kids at that level. It was small schools in Missouri, Pleasant Hill, Class 2, two-time defending state champs. St. Michael's was a top 4 team in Class 1, moved up to Class 2. Coach and Franca, Tyler Thompson, those guys, really good program. And then St. Pius is still in Class 1. They're wrestling in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic. Hopefully we can record Tuesday next week, Mark, because I'm running that tournament Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. So I will put you on the spot now to do that. So in this tournament, so people need to know, top 25 teams or top 50 teams: Stillwater 3, 4 Del Barton, Poway 10, Edmond North 12, Lake Highland Prep 13, Bixby 17, Liberty 22, Allen 25, St. Joe Regional 26. That's 9 top 26 teams. Pomona is number 41. And in the week 1 rankings, Tuttle was in. And in the week 2, so that's 11 teams that have been ranked this year. And then the other teams in no particular order are Blackwell, Loyola, St. Pius, Derby, and Arlington Martin. So that's going to be on the 21st and 22nd of next week. I think that's Wednesday, Thursday. And 4 pools of 4. You wrestle round robin. So everybody gets 3 matches. We'll do pools A and B in the morning, pools C and D in the afternoon, evening. You now have 4 gold, silver, bronze, copper. Semis, finals will wrestle out to 16 places. And there's a dinner that night where the kids get to eat and listen to Dan Gable and John Smith at a round table. So
really neat event, David.
Very cool. A.L. Heslip and Sandy Stevens will be on the PA side of things. Myself, Hardell, Keck, Forbes, Matt Serber, Alex Steen, Justin Ackland, and 1 TBD are on the mics. So shout out to Ethan Kyle. Shout out to Ed Gallegos, Leroy Smith, Lindsey Hammer, Jack Carnifex, Clay Hudson, all the folks at the Hall of Fame that have done a great job. It's very cool to work with a crew, versus Border Brawl's kind of a 1 or 2 man show. So they're really good at getting stuff done. The event will be on Flow. So if you can't get to Stillwater, check it out. It's only 4 mats at a time. So, and I was watching Cliff Keen, and I usually just watch one thing at a time, but I'm sure everybody else knew this but me, but they have this thing where you can do a frame and watch 2 or 4 at a time.
Yep.
And then pick the audio on which one you want. So that was very cool. I'm sure that'll be going on there. Shout out to Bill Gockel, our guy in Iowa who's getting us on the air down there. He'll be down there next week. So the kids are getting a free tour of the Hall of Fame and of Gallagher Iba Arena. Cliff Keen is providing these guys with bags and stuff like that. The Army's going to be there. The Marines are going to be there. It's going to be cool. It's going to be very, very cool. Very excited to have my name associated with this.
And one last thing, David, I wish we would have had a little bit more time because there was just so much going on this week with World Cup, obviously. And we didn't really dive into the women's. And I wish we could have done that a little bit more because, with Japan getting 6th and, United States getting 4th, you would think, oh my gosh, what happened? But it was really fun to watch. There were some great matches. Some women stepped up and beat world champions and world place medals. And so it was fun to watch. But, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Ironman or
Ironman.
Ironman tournament in Ohio. And there was some great wrestling there. The results were on Flow. You can watch some of those matches. So, some number ones got taken down in the finals, which was, fun to see. It was great wrestling. I mean, there's a lot going on, but your event that you're going to have at Oklahoma State should be phenomenal. And I know it's just going to keep getting better and better because there's some really good teams that want to come next year. So
shout out to Luke Lillidow for being O-Dub of Ironman. He's a guy, I know his dad real well. He trained with us back at CBC, and he's now with Cornell Robinson up at SEM. Jax Forrest, I think, is actually coming down to visit our event next week. So get a chance to meet that young man in person. Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the women. There's an interview on USA Wrestling with Steiner, and he did a good job of just talking about it, like after the 4th place finish, about where we have to get better, how he was happy with the effort, just not the execution. And we all know that, right? We've all coached or competed ourselves. And like, look, I think there's a difference between saying I tried my hardest and I did my best.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like you can try your hard. Like I could try my hardest on this podcast and I've mispronounced 4 names because I'm, underslept or something like that. Like,
sure.
Then I messed up, but it doesn't mean I did on purpose. I put effort into it, and it's a building process. Right. And so, So hopefully we can talk Tuesday, because I'd like to talk, do more of a preview, and then we can dig more into Ironman, because some of these kids from Ironman are wrestling here, like Stillwater was there and some of the other stuff. So if I can talk you into Tuesday, we'll do that.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. For GT, who's on assignment, for Mark, who's the freaking man, I'm David. See you guys next week.